Epstein's sweetheart deal? It's even worse than we knew. The prosecutor, Alex Acosta, didn't just cut him a break. He handed Epstein's lawyers the names of survivors, and some say they were harassed and threatened. And Acosta, he got promoted.
A great labor secretary, not a good labor secretary.
We're digging deeper into this one. This story's not going away, Blue.
No, I'm staying here. I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So Ghislaine Maxwell said that she didn't remember any of the people, anybody, about the birthday book. Nothing. She remembered nothing. She didn't remember Bill Clinton. She remembered nothing.
Yeah.
So then she goes on to, then when she gives the interview with Trump's lawyer to get pushed over to Club Fed in Texas, so her life is easier. She definitely remembers nothing ever happening. She doesn't say, I don't remember. She says, absolutely, I never saw anything. So
Yeah.
it's very sketchy as to her memory is very selective. And she perjured herself a couple of times, I guess, during her trial.
Oh,
So she's definitely not a trustworthy person. And so I wonder.
She's an impeachable witness for sure.
Yeah, and I just wondered from a lawyer's standpoint, if somebody says I don't remember versus someone says I definitely remember that I never saw anything. What I mean,
right?
Versus, yeah, it was like, well, okay.
Yeah, the first time I heard about that, I don't remember defense being effective, was before I ever even thought about going to law school as a kid, watching Watergate unfold, and that's what Richard Nixon. First time I ever heard Richard Nixon's advice to John Dean when he was about to testify, before John Dean had gotten off the reservation, Nixon told him, just tell them you don't remember. They can't get you for perjury on that because nobody can prove that you remembered something if you don't remember it. So that's first I heard that. But you make a really interesting distinction is if somebody, instead of just saying, I don't remember, which is safer ground, goes on to say something more specific about, well, that didn't happen, or I didn't see that, in other words, if they say I didn't see that, and then there's proof of video or something of them watching whatever they didn't see, that gets into different territory for sure.
Well, and he had apparently cameras all over in his apartment in New York, so I'm guessing there's tape that would be disgusting to see, but there's also probably tape of just people, so you can see that these people were in the room with him, were in the apartment with him, and without showing anything graphic that happened to a victim.
Because we know he liked to make pictures and videos and stuff of his exploits. We've heard witnesses talk about that.
So did you see the picture somebody put in his birthday book, and they drew Jeffrey giving balloons and candy to little girls, and then now he's on this. Who drew that? Because that person definitely knew what was going on. And that poem, and there was a poem that I posted last night that I put in there that came out of the book. That person knew what was going on too.
Yeah. And wasn't there some language, and I haven't delved into that aspect too deeply because I've been a little distracted on this other stuff about the witnesses, the deal that Acosta made going way back. But anyway, I am interested in more detail about what was in what Trump wrote in that birthday book, because something did catch my eye that there's a reference to age or something in what Trump wrote. But other stuff in that birthday book, and the thing is, Trump's, his initial position when Wall Street Journal first reported about this birthday book, his first position was it didn't exist. In fact, They even filed in their lawsuit against Wall Street Journal, their defamation. They say in legal pleadings, they tell the court that this birthday book did not exist. And now we know that's a lie.
Mhm.
I went off in
Wow.
several directions there, but, but there's so many to follow. But going back to your original thing about her testimony, is one thing I kind of find interesting about what she said about the birthday book not existing and her having nothing to do with it in her interview with Todd Blanche, the Trump's former lawyer, who's now at DOJ, and went and interviewed her. And then it was right after that she got moved to the Club Fed prison. In that interview, in the transcript they released, she said, like you were saying, I know nothing about the birthday book, and now that we've learned how involved she was in the birthday book, it appears anyway that she lied to Todd Blanche in that interview. And the question there is, I don't think you get immunity from perjury in that interview, even though they gave her immunity for other things.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, she definitely will say whatever she needs to save her own skin. Yeah.
You know, we've been on this story for quite a while, but this is the first time I feel like we're not all alone thinking about it, because it seems to be getting a lot more attention.
I know. It's like, well, because it seems so salacious, and people are like, yeah, you're just going out, and there's so much other stuff going on. But I think, well, they were going to do the ICE and bounty hunters and all that stuff anyway, but I definitely got worse, I think, because there's heat on the Epstein story, because the victims came out. I hope the victims make a list of the names of the people who abused them and put that out there. Because then if somebody wants to sue them, guess what? We get to depose you now, and there's probably documentation somewhere. And yeah,
that's the danger they face in outing the names. That's why I think the little trick that's been discussed, they give the names of others that abuse them to the members of Congress who are friendly to them. Massey, the Republican Massey, and the other one, the Democrat. And they read the names on the House floor. Now, what's interesting about that is they're protected in what they say on the House floor. So what they say on the House floor, so long as they don't say where they got it, gives a little protection to the victims and a way for them to get the names out without so much of a danger of getting sued.
Yeah.
The next step is whether they get enough votes for this discharge petition. I expect the Trump forces to be able to badger them.
Well, they need, I guess they need what, 5 Republicans, and they've got 4. Isn't it interesting? It's just so interesting. They're always one Republican short. It's like they draw straws out of a hat. It's like, okay, who's gonna like look like the good guy this time, and the rest of us are gonna vote the way we were gonna vote anyway. It's like, I don't believe any of it, except I will say, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she seems to be a true believer. Like you know what I mean? She is like so ingrained in all conspiracies too. That like she has no cracks. She has no cracks in her persona. Nancy Mace, on the other hand, but
I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is fascinating, that how this is the first time and the only time I've seen her get anywhere near off Trump's reservation on any topic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird. And she does seem to, understand, and I will say care about the maggot base
Yeah.
more than Trump doesn't care about them, obviously. But I mean, she gets them because she's one of them, I think, in a way. And
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I think she might be the heir to the throne.
Yeah.
Seriously, if they are so misogynistic that they can't have a woman, I think that
You
she,
mean the
I
heir to
think she would take the base with.
the MAGA throne. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I think that she's
Yeah.
the one that will. She's the one that they will go with.
And I think
I
that's
think
what's on
so.
her mind in this. I mean, I think she's looking past Trump to what you're saying is who inherits the mantle of the MAGA leader. And
Yeah, it's not
another
Don Jr.
motivation for her is that's where she has perfected the art of grassroots funding with the MAGA base. So she doesn't need any of Trump's big billionaire money or big corporate money or any of those people. She could just thumb, off all those people and all of her funding. And it's like some others, in how all of it comes from that grassroots. And the more provocative and in the news she is on whatever topic that excites them, even if it's not pleasing to Trump, she gets more money. So there's that crass benefit for her as well.
Well, I wonder too, though, is she going to be able to do that since he's running the economy and nobody that makes less than $10 million a year is going to have anything anymore?
Yeah. But I just wonder if at some point Trump just has to cave in and release everything the DOJ's got, even if it's embarrassing to him. It's going to be difficult for him to handle that. But
He's never had consequences in his entire miserable life.
Yeah.
And I think he would chew his own foot off before he would take consequences for anything like that. But I think that's why he's gone all gung-ho on Chicago now. I mean, those things are going to happen anyway. But I think it's war now. Now he's declared war on a city. Which, why are they not impeaching him for that? For just that language that he's. I mean, that a sitting president has declared war on a U.S. city. He did it in writing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another impeachment. That if they could get him for treason, then they could remove the entire corrupt, inept cabinet. They'd get rid of all of them. But
well, I think biggest reason and I got lots of them, but the biggest reason, one of them, that I'd like to see Democrats get Congress back, or at least the House, is I think they'll impeach him again, and I hope they do if they get power. I mean, it ought to happen. I mean, people are going to say, "Oh, it's a witch hunt," whatever, but they got even more reasons to impeach him now.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like daily. There's something, it seems like, but he needs to be convicted and removed as well. And I was last weekend before last, it was like we were all on death watch.
Right.
That was like, oh, remember 2 weekends ago? It was so glorious. We were on death watch and we thought that he was really going down. So, and then he comes back and, with like a little something under his shirt that had some kind of a heart thing, I think. And, and it's like, oh man, he's going to live forever like Dick Cheney. So,
well, that's true. I mean, I've been to the well so many times. All the lawsuits, I followed every drip and drab of all the cases against him and all his jury verdicts and everything. And every time, even going all the way back to when he, insulted McCain, I thought, oh, this is it. This is the end of Trump. But I'm not going to give up. Someday we'll be right.
Someday we'll be right. Yeah. Time marches on, right, for all of us. Yes, and he will be room temperature, and so will we all. But as Joni Ernst says, we all will die one day.
Yeah.
But
The
yeah, go ahead.
I'm just looking at some other some technical stuff here on the live stream, but the I guess what let's see, I've got here. If you've got to go take. That's fine. I've got a what was it? Oh, I want to get back into what I mentioned. I got it hot off the press. This is the thing that was so interesting in the releases yesterday. The birthday book is exciting and everything, but I want to put up on the screen here the part of his non-prosecution agreement that Alex Acosta did. That it's been out there, but we just here's the non-prosecution agreement that was made with Epstein, with the U.S. attorney,
And it definitely says
Acosta.
minors.
And and the part here that caught my eye is the United States shall provide Epstein's attorneys with a list of individuals whom it has identified as victims. And what's significant about that is they agreed, and I'm going to later on talk to former federal prosecutor and a couple other lawyers, but what's significant about that is they agreed to tell him who they've been talking to build a case against him, the victims, the survivors they've been talking to as part of that plea deal with him. And then later on, we learned from the survivors themselves that Epstein's lawyers and his team harassed them, and then also gave them a heads up on their lawsuits against him so that they could find out who was going to sue them and they could start researching, looking for dirt on them and stuff like that. And yet at the same time, he was telling Epstein who the victims were that were testifying against him. They didn't tell the victims they had even made this deal. And then later on, Acosta ends up in Trump's cabinet. I mean, you can't avoid the conclusion that the man got rewarded for this with a cabinet job from Donald Trump. And that is the piece of this story that I've been harping on for weeks now that still isn't getting explored. Why did he put Acosta in that cabinet? Because he had no qualifications to be labor secretary.
Yeah. Well, one could argue that there are a lot of cabinet members that have no business being in the positions they're in. But it looks dirty. And I mean, Dershowitz was one of Epstein's attorneys too, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And he has been accused of being one of the abusers. So
yeah, and he's actually totally denied that.
I know you think that maybe Michael Wolff is like talking off the reservation sometimes, but notice that he says these crazy things. Nobody goes after him. Nobody tries to sue him. And that's because he's got hours and hours of Epstein on tape. Why in the heck can Congress not get that from Michael Wolff?
Yeah.
Why can't they subpoena him and say, we need this? But I mean, that's his safety, his little safety blanket there is all those hours of tape of him talking to Epstein.
Yeah, and I've seen some of those recordings where a lot of times when I've listened to those, I thought, Michael Wolff, you couldn't afford a better recorder because the quality of some of those recordings is pretty scratchy.
Yeah, he talks kind of slow too. I want to pull the words out of his mouth and just like talk faster. But But and they didn't go after Hunter Biden either when he said that about how Melania met Donald Trump through Epstein, and they sent the letter and said, we're going to sue you. You need to take that back. They didn't.
And then Hunter doubled down after she made that threat. He doubled down and
they do not want to talk about anything to do with Epstein. They do not want to. They don't want to be deposed. They do not want to talk any discovery. They want nothing. Yeah. So Yeah. So there's smoke there and there's fire there, and yeah. But
And I
I
guess
was
you
I
got to
was
figure. I mean, the big bottom line also is: will this have any impact on MAGA turnout in the midterms? Because that's been my assumption all along, that if they get turned
there's
off Trump over this, will that make a difference?
Yeah, I mean they won't. They're not going to vote for the libs, but
No,
but they might stay. But they might stay home. They might stay
right.
home, and they might. I don't know if they're going to tie Trump as long as Trump doesn't endorse a candidate. I think that they might go ahead and vote for them. But if Trump endorses a candidate, I think he's toxic to Republican candidates now. I think that they do not want his endorsement because it's going to put a lot of people off, except for the evangelical cult members and the white supremacists. You know, they are who they are. But
Well,
like
one
the MAGA,
indicator
but the
one indicator of that is these last two elections that for House seats that were open, that Republicans, that two MAGA Republicans won. They have both committed to vote for this discharge petition to release Epstein records against Trump's will. So you've already got some signs of what you're saying there is that the new MAGA Republicans coming along aren't necessarily, Trump groupies,
no,
at least
they're
on
not.
this issue.
Well, and the other thing is this big beautiful bill that is now a big ugly law has hurt so many people. The farmers are finding out. Farmer suicide rates are going up. Bankruptcies are going up on farms. JD Vance's Acre Trader company is buying up farmland as an investment, like investment groups go in and buy up farmland now. I mean, the whole thing just stinks to high heaven, and they push those people into bankruptcy on purpose. But they voted for it. It's hard to feel sorry for them, but the farmers are turning against them. As you've seen, why at the few town halls that there have been, you've got a lot of old white people yelling at their representatives, so which is hilarious. When you see some old white people from Nebraska calling their congressmen liars. Ben Flood did not have a good time. But so there are a lot of people that are hurting, and when they realize that their Medicaid, their parents are going to maybe have problems with nursing home care, and because that's where the Medicaid money is coming from, and not every state kicks in as much as so it's going to hurt some states more than others. And there's a lot of stuff that's just going to hurt people, and they're not going to vote for anybody who voted for it.
Yeah. I
and now
noticed that.
it sounds like. Oh, go ahead.
Yep. No, you go.
Oh, I was just going to say, now they said because of the when they raised the debt sequestration, that's going to hurt how much Medicare gets. Your Medicare costs are going to go up. So
well, and there you raise something that's really going to be fascinating. Is that if we back up a little bit on the government funding bill, that's when Schumer got so much trouble with progressives when he decided to cave in and vote for the Republican bill that extended government funding. Well, that deadline is now coming up at the end of this month, and Democrats face another choice. Do they shut down the government and take the hit for it or not? I was somewhat in agreement with Schumer's approach last time. There were several reasons I didn't think it was a good time for Democrats to go off the cliff on that. But now I see a different situation that I think Democrats ought to shut down the government.
I do too. I mean, the continuing resolution, I mean, that's no way to run it for starters. I know they're afraid that like Trump will have more power if the government is shut down. Well, he's running everything by royal edict now anyway, and they're acting like it's
Anyway,
law.
yeah,
So there's no harm in doing it because he is doing whatever the heck he wants to do.
yeah.
Anyway, so
I mean, because we're in a phase now where they're in the consolidation of their authoritarian rule phase now. Earlier in that first round, they were in the muzzle velocity of, Doge was on the move. They seemed to have everything going for them. It was a bad time, I think, for Democrats to challenge them in that way. But now it's a matter of, do you keep funding the consolidation of an authoritarian regime? I mean, because that's the question now. And because they're consolidating this authority, they're grabbing this power, they're grabbing.
I'm going to say it just that way when I make my calls to my poor senator. They get so tired of hearing from me.
I love how you're always calling these folks. That's
man,
great. I mean,
I'm on a list for sure. I'm on a list for sure.
I'm sure you're on. You're right. You're on Kash Patel's speed dial.
Yeah, it's like I just it's like I would not fly right now with my phone because and now apparently they've got something called graphite where they can actually break into your phone without anything. They can just break into something that the Israeli government had. It's called graphite.
Oh, really?
We'll have to ask somebody on the trail that has tech knowledge about that. But yeah, apparently they can just break into phones like anything now. They don't even need your phone anymore. I don't know. But so yeah, I'll have to get a burner if I ever fly.
Well, I love how you do these phone calls to these lawmakers and harass them. And people think as an old journalist, I know I covered. They count those calls and they pay attention to it. It maybe not every individual call, but they have their staffs keep track of who's on, how many people called on this side of an issue, how many on that side of an issue, and they pay attention to it. It's not a waste of time to make these calls.
This week it's been pretty much get rid of RFK Jr. because good Lord. But Trump even pushed back at DeSantis on the getting rid of all the vaccine mandates. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy times. It's like we live in the information age and we're like going back to the dark ages at the same time. It's like insane.
Well, now what kind of responses did you get calling about RFK? Who did you call, first of all?
Well, I've gotten some letters. I won't say their names, but I've gotten some letters and I've stopped opening them from one of my senators because they're so darn nasty.
Oh, really? You mean, are they personally nasty toward you? Or?
They're personally nasty toward my point of view. And I will give you an example just from the very first time I ever did anything was back in the 80s or maybe early 90s. And it was like a postcard and it was like to protect Roe v. Wade. And I sent it in and I got a nasty letter from Dick Armey. It was obviously a form letter, but it was like, there was even a time when even women were considered less than human. I mean, it was like a really nasty letter. And it was like, oh my God, he's sending this out to everybody who got that postcard from him. Because it was like a pre-printed postcard to save Roe v. Wade way back in the day. And it was like, but that's the kind of thing. It's like the first response I got was about the big, beautiful bill. It's like, you are listening to a lot of people that are just making stuff up. It's just reactionary stuff, and there's no truth to it at all. It's not going to hurt SNAP. It's not going to hurt Medicaid. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be tax cuts for everybody. Blah blah blah. And it was just like, basically, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. And so I've gotten 3 or 4 letters now, and I just stopped opening them. It's like, no,
Ah,
they're in a
Yeah.
bag. Someday maybe I'll do a collage with them or something, or make a piñata, like strips of blue
yeah,
and paper, and then
that
I
would be good.
make a piñata and just hit it, and candy will come out. But I don't know.
Well, you know what? That's new. Now that's news to me from back in the day when I used to cover this stuff. That they would actually write hostile letters. Lawmakers writing hostile letters back to
To, to
people.
me,
They
to me,
usually, huh?
yeah, it was hostile to me. To the Dick Armey one was hostile. I mean, to say that
Huh.
even we didn't even consider women to be humans at one point. It is, you know what I mean? It's just like I still have that thing somewhere because it pissed me off.
Yeah, I don't
But
blame you.
and I voted in Republican primaries when I was in Texas so that I could vote against people like Dick Armey, because it's like
Oh yeah.
I'm going to vote for the Democrat in the general, but I'm not going to let some of these people just go by the wayside. I'm going to, yeah. So I did that quite a few times, but can't do that in
Huh.
every state. Some states you have to pick. So
Huh. Well,
anyway.
and so the calls you did yesterday were mostly about RFK Jr.
RFK. Yeah. And I
Huh.
wonder if I call him JFK on some of my calls too. I don't know. Sometimes, usually I get voicemail, but once in a while I do get a staffer. And
Oh.
the staffers have all been really nice, except there's one girl, and I've gotten her a couple of times, and she snickers the whole time. She's like,
Oh.
Carolyn Levitt must be her mentor. I think she she's just awful. It's just like, oh my goodness. But and then I say, well, I hear you snickering, but I'm going to say this anyway. And I know you have to take this down, and I should make her read it back to me, to what I said, to see if she actually listened to it. But I don't know. I won't get that
Well,
petty with it, because it does make my blood pressure go up sometimes.
well, next time there's a DC protest, you ought to come out here and join them. You got me started on going to these protests in DC, and I've enjoyed them. They're kind of uplifting. There's something about getting with a bunch of like-minded people and just hollering. That feels good.
So far, I've only seen a few, like a little groups of people as driving up toward the city with, signs about ICE and Epstein and blah, blah, blah. And it's usually a variety of things, but that's okay. There's a lot going on. So,
Yeah.
but,
Because there aren't a lot of organized protests around you, I guess.
no,
Are there?
no, I'm in a red state, and I'm in the country, out in the country. So, I mean, you have to go up to the city. We were up to the city on Saturday, and that's why we saw, or Saturday, whenever we were up there. And so we were up towards civilization. So,
well, that last one here last Saturday in DC was huge. I mean, it was conservative guess at least 5,000. And as I watched coverage of other parts of the crowd where I wasn't at, I think it might have been closer to maybe 8,000, possibly 10,000, but
wow.
much bigger than they had been before.
Well, and there's one group, and I don't know if it's with the veterans, but they're actually looking for people that know what they're talking about with politics, and are good speakers and stuff, that want to come and join in with them. I'll have to see if I can find that, and I don't know if you're interested in it, but I'll try to get that information and send it to you.
Well, yeah, an old reporter thing that I used to do with rallies, with protests, and I did it the other day, is I kind of hang back into the back of a crowd. Mm-hmm. What I've noticed is in protests, and this is any side protest, any pro-life rallies, whatever, is the people at the very front and the speakers are usually the most radical, which is kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so they say the most radical things, but the further back you go in a crowd, the more you get to just kind of average, normal people, you might say, who haven't, whose whole lives are not this issue, and which is nothing to say, not saying anything against the people who do feel so strongly, but I just find it more telling to talk to the people toward the back, because I think they're more representative of average folks. And what I found Saturday with that rally is the people at the very front, and the problem is the media naturally ends up covering those people in the front and the speakers. So in the coverage, and that's what I noticed Saturday night in the coverage, is they come off to more independent thinkers or swing voters or that sort of person as seeming kind of hot, too hot, and because those are the people that get interviewed. But the people I was talking to for my videos from the protest were just more, calm, I guess is one word, but, and I think more relatable to the average. And it's just a shame that in the covers that I see, you don't see those people as much as you do the more radical people who tend to put off folks in the middle.
Yeah, I'm totally unrelatable then.
Well, that's okay.
I'm off the reservation. It's like I was told that I was overreacting the whole time. And it's like, no, this is this. It's like, no, that was definitely a Nazi salute. No, da 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 da. And it's just like, and it's like people. It's like what the filter. And there's nothing on the news, on the national news. They're showing nothing on any of the channels. I bop around and look. They are just just worthless.
You mean about the protest, or
about the protest? There's hardly ever anything about it. Or they'll say, oh, there was a protest and da da da, and then they'll just just gloss over and go right to something else. There's no 1.5, 2 minute little thing on any of it. And so it's like mainstream media now is just making itself obsolete, because if it's going to be that useless, I mean, it's like I need a weather report and I watch the sports, and the news isn't the news anymore, because it's either feel good stuff or it's stuff that is that nobody can do anything. News to me is somebody broke out of prison, they're still out, be careful. It's not this bad thing happened, this person's house caught on fire. If that person's house caught on fire because there was a gas leak and there's still an active leak in the area, yes, that's news. If somebody's house caught on fire, that's not news, because they were making popcorn and they forgot about it. It's just the news isn't the news anymore. It's not like it was back in the day. Kids, get off my lawn. I sound so old. Back in our day. But so anyway, but I was hoping that Jack would hop on here, or somebody.
Yeah, you never know when these folks are gonna hop in, and
or Jamie.
They usually show up, and it's been an interesting adventure to try to get some of these. We actually had Sturgeon come in the other day.
Yeah,
Sturgeon showed up.
Yeah. That's good. We need extra people here to show up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I mean, I'm trying to make it so it's not real high pressure, and he just chatting.
Yeah.
And but anyway, I appreciate you hopping in.
Yep. I'm going to bop out now, and hopefully somebody else will come in. I'm going to go get on the trail and tell them.
Well, I got plenty of videos to play with here,
okay.
and so anybody can come back in if they want. But I'm going to play a few things, because what I do is I use this to to have chats, and then play some videos, and then I edit them later into 20-30 second shorts for TikTok and YouTube. So it's repurposing content.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
So that's our friend Blue in Dallas, a long-time trail mixer. And back to the story of the day, which is truly on my mind, is the release of records from the Epstein estate yesterday got my attention, and in particular, this non-prosecution agreement that Alex Acosta, who was their U.S. attorney in Miami back in when Epstein did this non-prosecution agreement, and the deal they made was quite favorable to Epstein, of course, because he pled to a lesser charge than what they were originally investigating him for, which is rape and human trafficking, to solicitation. And we knew that, but what we learned in the release yesterday from the document is that this language right here, the United States shall provide Epstein's attorneys with a list of individuals who it has identified as victims. Now, what's significant about that is it's unusual, for one thing, to make an agreement like this, although we're going to get into that with some legal experts later today. But what happened is that some of these victims whose identities were given to Epstein's team in this non-prosecution agreement, some of them were people who were harassed by Epstein's team. Some say they were threatened not to sue him. And we also think some may have been offered money, whatever. The point is that the federal government agreed to give him this list of victims to do whatever he wanted with them. He was also supposed to pay them some restitution. It's unclear how much of that actually happened. But at the same time, this agreement wasn't even revealed to the victims. So their names were being handed over to the person they were accusing. And they weren't even told. And Acosta, the U.S. attorney who made this agreement, it turns out, he got into Trump's cabinet. And that raises some issues. How did he end up with that? And we'll play here a little clip I've got on with when we talked to Carolyn, my cousin and former federal prosecutor, when we talked to her about that. Acosta, who we just mentioned, Jim Acosta, who was the U.S. attorney in Miami when the Epstein deal was made, he approved the deal, and then later got in Trump's cabinet.
There was substantial evidence, and it should have been a federal case, not a state case. That's why the locals took it to the FBI. FBI had more resources to investigate it, could also charge the crimes that occurred elsewhere. So it was more appropriately a federal case. My opinion is that Acosta was overrun by the attorneys that Epstein had. Epstein had very powerful attorneys.
Yeah.
And I think they just ran right over Acosta, and he just kowtowed to them.
He approved the deal, and then later got in Trump's cabinet.
There was substantial evidence, and it should have been a federal case, not a state case. That's why the locals took it to the FBI. FBI had more resources to investigate it, could also charge the crimes that occurred elsewhere. So it was more appropriately a federal case. My opinion is that Acosta was he was overrun by the attorneys that Epstein had. Epstein had very powerful attorneys.
Yeah.
And I think they just ran right over Acosta, and he just kowtowed to them.
We'll talk later with Carolyn about this this afternoon. Going to get her on the line. It's new information we've gotten today that Acosta also agreed to hand over the names of Epstein's victims, survivors, and his team later used that to both harass them and prepare for lawsuits against them or prevent lawsuits against him. And Acosta is important today because, first of all, he's supposed to be testifying to the House Oversight Committee at some point. I haven't seen any details on when or how that's occurring or whether it'll be public. But also, after he did all this sweetheart deal with Epstein and putting the victims in jeopardy by giving their names to Epstein's team, he ends up on Trump's cabinet. And then after he gets on the cabinet, and the Miami Herald did a bunch of stories about Epstein and about this whole sweetheart deal, and the Trump administration was then, if you ask me, forced to actually indict Epstein. When all that came out about Acosta's role in that sweetheart deal, after which he got in the cabinet, I didn't say he was rewarded by getting on the cabinet, but those are the facts. After he gave Epstein a sweetheart deal, not that long later, he ends up on Trump's cabinet. Here's what Trump had to say at the time when Acosta had to resign from Trump's cabinet because all this Epstein stuff came out about how he had let him off the hook.
He's a great labor secretary, not a good labor secretary. He's done a fantastic job. He's a friend of everybody in the administration. And I got a call this morning early from Alex, and I think he did a very good job yesterday. Under a lot of pressure, he did a fantastic job. And he explained it. And he made a deal that people were happy with, and then 12 years later, they're not happy with it. You'll have to figure all of that out. But the fact is, he has been a fantastic Secretary of Labor. And Alex called me this morning, and he wanted to see me. And I actually said, well, we have the press right out here, so perhaps you just want to say it to the press. But I just want to let you know, this was him, not me, because I'm with him. He's a tremendous talent. He's a Hispanic man. He went to Harvard, a great student. And in so many ways, I just hate what he's saying now because we're going to miss him. He's a great.
And so there's the guy that let Epstein off the hook the first time. And we missed the opportunity to prosecute him. And that's what Trump winds up saying about him, even after that all came out. And Acosta had to resign from his cabinet. Well, that's it. It's almost lunchtime. We'll come back to this afternoon with our good friend and my cousin, former federal prosecutor, Carolyn, to talk about this new information. Acosta's original deal with Epstein, agreeing to turn over to him the victims' names, which he then used to harass and threaten them. We'll get into that with her later. But for now, that's your Trail Mix Live chat room. Why the Epstein story matters in 30 seconds. The FBI has a massive file on Jeffrey Epstein's global sex trafficking ring. The Department of Justice has it. They've kept it locked. Trump promised to release it. Never did. His own Attorney General, Pam Bondi, warned him he is in those records. And he wasn't shy about their friendship. In 2002, Trump told New York Magazine, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. He likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many are on the younger side." So ask yourself, what's in those files? And why is Trump so afraid for you to see them? Okay, that was 40 seconds.